Hey guys, coming to another movie, guys. Now, this movie reviewing, I have been wanting to watch this movie for a while now, mainly because of the movies I was reviewing prior to this. But let's just get out of the way. The movie I'm reviewing is the reboot, not remake, of Ghostbusters. Now, here's the thing, I was looking forward to this movie to a degree, but obviously I wasn't because of the trailers. But as you guys know, I do really love the first Ghostbusters. I reviewed both of them, the first two, if you guys want to check those out. In fact, I think I'll leave links to the first two Ghostbusters reviews down below, but of course I did review the first two and I have them both on Blu-ray. But I really enjoyed the first two Ghostbusters. I thought they were very fun films. Even the second one, which gets a lot of flack, I still really did enjoy it, even though it's a very messy film. There were aspects to it I really enjoyed. This movie, however, I was very worried about. Why? Because I found it extremely unnecessary. I didn't really see the point in just doing a random Ghostbusters remake with women. I just didn't really see what the point of that was. I didn't really see what they were trying to do here, and it really just seemed like they were trying to be like, fuck all men. And not saying that's a bad thing, because, you know, women power, things like that. I think that's fine. But I just didn't really think this looked that great. The trailers looked horrible. The second trailer wasn't that bad, but the first trailer looked really bad. But I have to say, after watching Ghostbusters, the trailers really did not do shit for this movie, because this movie is a lot better than the trailers made out to be. Is Ghostbusters a perfect movie? No, but it's a lot more enjoyable and overall a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. And basically the plot of Ghostbusters, I mean, you know the plot. You have 4 scientists, you know, 3 are scientists, and then 1 is this street smart, but they're actually not scientists, actually. What's interesting is that they're not all scientists in this movie. 2 of them are book writers, 1 of them is a scientist, and then 1 of them is kind of like a street smart, it's like street, I don't really know how to describe her exactly. She's street smart, and she's MTA worker, and they basically decided to band together because of weird paranormal occurrences they feel are going on, and that basically is the plot. You guys know what Ghostbusters is about. You guys know the plot, and this is pretty much the same plot as the first one, but there are a lot of different things that they did with this one that I do really appreciate. But there are some things that are, they don't think they got as right. But let's just jump into Ghostbusters, because the plot's not really what you guys want me to talk about. The first thing I know you guys want me to talk about, probably the most, is the cast. So initially, when this cast was announced, I honestly was kind of all for it. I really do like all 4 of these women. I think they're all very funny. I've seen them all in things that I really enjoyed, and I'm like, you know what, that's a good idea, because the first Ghostbusters was made up of 4 men that are really funny, and that they worked really well. Well, Harold Ramis, I don't think as much, but, you know, the 4 men in the first Ghostbusters worked very well together, and that's one of the things that works so well, is their chemistry. The question is their chemistry good in this movie? Yes, I think they all worked very well together, but how they work as individual characters, some of them work and some of them don't. Our main lead here being Kristen Wiig, who I thought did a very good job in playing kind of like the straight woman. She's the Bill Murray of this movie. She's the Bill Murray, but she doesn't have the type of character that Peter Venkman was. You know, she's not as open and things like that. There are a lot of things to her character that are very interesting. She's the skeptic in this movie. She's the one that doesn't really believe in ghosts, and that's all fine and dandy until about 20 minutes in the movie, where it takes her a very short amount of time to be like, okay, I believe in ghosts. But then when we find out something about her past and they try to develop her character more, you look at that and you're like, wait a second, that didn't really make any sense. And I don't really know why they did what they did with their character in the beginning of this movie. It really didn't serve much of a purpose, and especially when something's revealed later in the movie, like I said, regarding her past, it kind of ruined the character. I think Kristen Wiig did a good job. I really liked her overall. I thought she was very funny and just a very likable character. But after that was revealed, I felt the first 20 minutes, you know, with her character that we set up building this whole story of her being a skeptic really was unnecessary. And I don't really know why it was there. They didn't really make sense of that. But other than that, I thought she was really good. I like what she did in this movie. I thought she was definitely very good. She did a very good job. Melissa McCarthy, however, I mean, I don't think she was bad. I'm going to say right off the bat, I don't think that she was bad, but out of the 4, surprisingly, she was the weakest. I really thought she was the weakest of the 4. Was she bad in this movie? No. I just felt she didn't really have much to her character. This is every Melissa McCarthy character we've seen just in Ghostbusters, and there's an interesting rivalry going on between Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy, but they don't really do much with it after they decide to form the team, because they formed the team very quickly in this movie, and I just felt like Melissa McCarthy didn't really have much to work with here. I mean, she, out of the four, was the one that made me laugh the least. I didn't think that she was bad necessarily, I just felt they didn't really give her much to work with, surprisingly. By far, the best of the four is Kate McKinnon. I love this character of Holtzman. This character is just awesome. I mean, she's the one that makes the wacky inventions, she's the one that has the funny lines, and she's really weird as well, and she's kind of a cartoon at times, but it works very well with her character. You know, she's just a bit eccentric, and she didn't come across as a cartoon. She came across more as eccentric, and I thought she did a very good job. I like what she did in the movie. She definitely was very good. And then Leslie Jones actually comes in, I think, a lot more earlier than Ernie Hudson did in the original film. She comes in a lot earlier, and I really liked her character. I thought she was really good, and I think overall, the four women, they had really great chemistry. They balanced off each other really well. They each had really good stuff to work with, and I really did enjoy their chemistry overall, and their chemistry by far is one of the best things about the movie. Just like the original, one of the best things is their chemistry. Their chemistry here is fantastic. They work very well together. You really like their characters. They're very likable, and I think they did a very good job with that. However, for me, the highlight of this movie is actually not the four women. As good as the four women were, the highlight, without a doubt, is Chris Hemsworth. I loved Chris Hemsworth in this movie. Holy shit. I mean, this guy, look, I've really liked Chris Hemsworth and what I've seen. I think he's a very talented actor. I've never really seen him as funny, though. I've never really seen him in a comedy film, and he, oh my god, he was hilarious in this movie. I loved this character. This guy's the receptionist. He's the Annie Potts of this movie, but he has so much more than Annie Potts did. Annie Potts was kind of just like a random receptionist. This guy, they hire him because they find him attractive, and he turns out to be very dumb. He doesn't really know how things work. He's very dense and things like that. I didn't really find him a cartoon. I heard a lot of people say I think they went a little too far. No, I think they went just the right amount with this character. I thought he was very funny. I really love what he did here. He was absolutely hilarious, and he had me dying in pretty much every scene he was in. I loved his character. He really worked in so many great scenes. I love what he did here, and I really thought that he was fantastic. Chris Hemsworth here, just a great character, and definitely for me, I think really the highlight of this movie, Chris Hemsworth. He really was fantastic. I think everyone else was great, but everyone really was giving it 100%. I'll definitely say it, but he was giving it 110%. And this is a character that Chris Hemsworth hasn't really played before, and I think he just did it perfectly. The best way I can sum this up is, remember Thor in the first Thor when he was like so unsure about the world, didn't really understand how things work? Okay, imagine Thor, but he does live in this world, and he does understand how things work, but he's just dumb, and he's so concerned about modeling, and he doesn't even understand how a phone works. I mean, it's a lot of fun to watch. I really loved his character, and I thought he really was great. And he worked very well with the four women. I think they really bounced off each other really well. My main problem in this movie is everyone else here, I thought was good, but a lot of people are going to say this. Most of the male characters in this movie, this is just a random observation. This isn't a complaint. Most of the male characters in this movie tend to be either very stupid or they're very much an asshole. And I get that that was kind of the point. They were trying to do that a little bit. They were trying to show that these women can do anything that men can do. But come on, I mean, not all men are like that. It seemed like every character, though. But what I did like about Chris Hemsworth, though, is that he really did care about the group. And that when it really does come down to it, he is a good guy. He just is a little bit of a slow guy. And he's kind of, you know, in the dumb sense. But I thought he did a good job. I liked what he did here. The villain in this movie, though, by Neil Casey, is pretty awful. I really did not think he was that great. I mean, very stereotypical, very one-dimensional, and kind of just like the villain that just laughs a lot and tries to ruin the Ghostbusters plans, and I just thought he really wasn't that great. But other than that, I thought that the cast was really good. I thought everyone else did a really good job here. I thought definitely, like I said, the cast was really good. Let's start with the directing here by Paul Feig, because a lot of people were worried about his directing. A lot of people thought, oh, no, Paul Feig is not the right guy to do this, and I think he did a pretty good job. Is it as good as the directing as Ivan Reitman? Oh, no, but Ivan Reitman did, in fact, produce this. But I do think that his directing, he very well did understand this movie. He understood what made it funny. He understood what didn't make it funny. I think the tone overall was very good. There was actually some good serious moments here that I actually really liked. There were some really good moments where they developed the characters, and I definitely really did enjoy that. And his directing overall, I really did enjoy. I think he did A really good job with the tone here. The movie is very funny, and that's something I was very surprised about, is that the movie is funny. I was laughing quite a lot during this movie. Basically, all the bad jokes are in the trailer. It's really weird, I have to say, how bad those trailers were. I mean, I don't know who did it, but it really does show that you can't really judge movie at all by the trailers because of how bad the trailer really was for this movie. But the trailers really don't do shit for this movie because the movie's a lot better than you think, and that's something I really did appreciate. There are some problems with the writing. One of my biggest problems with this movie is that I do think it's a bit too fast-paced. I really do. I think some things it takes a little while to get. I think unlike the first one, this one jumps right into it. The first one takes a little while to get going, and this one really doesn't. I was into it the moment it started, but I did think some things lasted a bit too short. Like I said, for example, Kristen Wiig's character being a skeptic early in the movie, she's literally a skeptic for 10 minutes, and then she sees a ghost, she's like, alright, I believe in ghosts, and it just didn't feel like much of a character arc for her. I mean, the movie doesn't really understand characters as well as it does gags, and I get that this is less of a character film, more of a gag after gag film, but when you have some nice serious moments, it feels like they did want to focus on character, and the characters isn't really something I think they concentrate as well on. The characters really aren't as good as the characters in the original one, but there are some good character moments. Like I said, Kate McKinnon's character is really interesting. I definitely really did like that. But my other problem with the writing in this movie is that a lot of it doesn't really make a lot of sense when you really think about it, especially the fact that this is a reboot. I thought that was kind of cool the way they did that. They really do go more in depth though, like them creating the logo and how they come up with the name Ghostbusters, how they get the car. Those are things that touched upon a lot more here that I definitely really did enjoy. But my biggest problem, I think, with the movie is how no one throughout the entire movie believes in ghosts. I mean, it just doesn't really make a lot of sense, and I get that's how it was in the original, but come on, things have changed since then, and this movie doesn't really seem to notice that. I mean, it's pretty obvious that it's ghosts, and I get that people, there's, this video online, people seem to think it's fake and everything, I understand that, but it just didn't really work, I think, in the way they wanted to. I think they tried to do too many things that were like the original, and the other thing I think they do way too much is too many nods to the original. Any reference they try to make to the original never works here, and I know a lot of you probably says, and this really is not a spoiler, pretty much everyone from the original movie has a cameo in here, and some of them work, most of them don't. I really don't think a lot of them work that well at all. I really don't know what the point of it was other than, oh look, here's this person, oh look, here's this. The only one that worked was towards the end. You guys know who I'm talking about. The only one that worked at that was the end of the movie. That's the only one that worked. The other ones I felt just didn't really service the movie very well. It just kind of took me out of it, honestly. Like, I was really into it, but then once they put a cameo in there, it felt like this was them trying to say, oh, we know that you want to see this person, we know you wish you'd be seeing Bill Murray right now. Well, here's Bill Murray. We know you'd rather be seeing Dan Aykroyd. Well, here's Dan Aykroyd. And they just didn't really service this movie very well. They didn't really do much in the movie. Some of them have absolutely nothing to do and really not contribute much to the story at all, except for them to just have another random observer in there who doesn't believe in ghosts. And it just was silly. It was very silly. It didn't really work, I think, in the way they wanted it to, and the third act of this movie, definitely, I will say, one of the biggest things I will give this movie is that they definitely improved the cinematography. Now, the cinematography in the original was bad, but the cinematography in the original, technology has really updated since then, obviously, and this movie really takes note of that. They really do a lot more with the ghosts. There's a lot more fighting ghosts in this movie. There's a lot more the women can do with the ghosts than the original. They just couldn't. They had their proton packs and things like that. They have a lot more than proton packs here, and that's something that I really did appreciate, that they do try to do a little bit more with the ghosts than the original movie did, and that's something I did like. There are some good upgrades to that, and I really enjoyed that. Like I said, though, this is a world where no one has heard the name Ghostbusters, and that's something that I think they did use very well. The score here I thought was pretty good. You hear Ghostbusters almost every 5 seconds in this movie, a different iteration of it, and some of them work and some of them don't. The Fall Out Boy version is so bad. I really recommend you guys don't listen to it. I love Fall Out Boy, but holy shit, that was bad. I mean, that really was terrible. The editing in this movie, I thought was fine. It was a bit choppy at points. Like I said, I think the movie's a bit too fast-paced at points, but other than that, I think the editing was fine. And just so you guys know, there is a post-credit scene in this movie. I don't want to spoil it, but I don't really know why they decided to do what they do at the end of this movie. I mean, for me, I think this really should have been a standalone. I don't really, if this is supposed to be a standalone, it's supposed to be a world where the Ghostbusters don't exist. So I don't really know how the end of this movie makes any sense. I mean, I get that they want to do a second one, and this movie is doing pretty well. Like, it actually hasn't bombed, believe it or not, which I was surprised about, but it hasn't actually bombed. It's actually doing pretty well, and I like that. In fact, the grade this movie had in Rotten Tomatoes, I was shocked by when I first saw it, but honestly, I would kind of agree with it because I don't think it's that bad of a film. But the post-credit scene, I really don't know what they're going to do if they do a second Ghostbusters, because I don't really know if it's going to work. I don't really know if they're going to be able to make it as good as the first one. I think very much like the first one, I think it's very unnecessary to do a second one, although this movie does hint that there probably is going to be a second one. I definitely will say that I'm kind of for it, but at the same time, I'm not kind of for it, because some things here worked and some things didn't. Overall, guys, Ghostbusters was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. There were a lot more in here that I really enjoyed. Like I said, it's genuinely very funny. I really enjoyed overall. And I'm really shocked, guys, but I'm definitely going to give Ghostbusters a 3.5 out of 5 or a B. Like I said, not at all a perfect movie, and definitely not as good as the original, but I do think it's a little bit better than the second one. I really did enjoy this movie overall. I think it had some nice character dynamics in there. It's a lot of fun to watch the interactions between the women and Chris Hemsworth as well. I think he's a very good addition that they really used well in this film, and I think they used him, like I said, very well. The villains, despite the villain being a little bit cheesy and some things being very underwritten, overall, this is a very entertaining film. I think it's a lot better than I think everyone thought it was going to be, and honestly, I think it is definitely worth seeing if you are a fan of the first two. And just to follow that up, if you guys have seen the first two, see it, honestly. I don't think this movie is going to disappoint you. I think it has enough things in there that you will enjoy this. But I do think there's a little bit of referencing too much of the first one. There is some stuff in here that I feel is kind of fan service. But overall, guys, let me know what you guys thought of this movie. You have seen it. Love to hear your thoughts on it. I'm very happy I finally watched it. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to. And honestly, I would probably watch this movie again. I really could see myself, honestly, getting the Blu-ray and watching it again. But let me know what you guys thought of this movie. You have seen it. Love to hear your thoughts on it, and I will see you guys how did it compare to the first and second one for you. Hopefully you guys don't dislike this review because I said I liked it. I'm sorry if I did, but if you guys didn't like it, just let me know why. Because I know the controversy for this movie is through the roof, which really is very unnecessary. Honestly, there's no reason for this movie to have the amount of controversy it does, but for whatever reason, it just does. But that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed the notes, guys. Saw this movie, have seen it. And we'll see you guys in my next one, which will be for the season finale of Preacher. And I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.